Do you know how many are on that list roughly?
I believe there are 5 right now.
And I encourage the trustees to purchase additional speed signs so that communities that pay their taxes can have speed signs. I have 2 small children. There's a total of over 10 on my street. It's a major cut through, as you all know, and people do speed through there, going up to 50 miles an hour. This is, until a kid is hit, I don't know what it's gonna take for you guys to take this seriously. In silence.
I don't consider that us not taking it seriously. We're adding another sign, we're putting them in rotation. They're not permanent signs, so they're not gonna be put
I
in
know
one
what they
location
are.
and left there.
And we have 3 streets still waiting, and I've requested them.
And as the sign comes in, it will be put into rotation and it will go to the streets.
Get in line and wait. That's what we'll do, just the peasants. I had a question about the Parks employee that was hired in the past 7 months. It's a new position, correct?
If you're talking about the supervisor, that is a new position.
Is the formal title Park Supervisor?
It is.
And what are the
He is not a
duties?
new employee, he was just promoted.
Okay, but it's a new position, as I
It is a new
explained.
position.
Is their sole purpose working with parks?
Yes, it is. Parks and public spaces.
Okay. Does that person have any defined duties? Is it written out somewhere that I could request? I didn't want to request it if it wasn't.
I believe it is, Greg, it is written
There's a
out.
job description for it.
Job
Sure.
description we have for it.
May I make a suggestion of an amendment to it, that the park supervisor actually be at the public parks meeting, as that individual has never been at one since that position was created. Seems like that would be appropriate. Last time I was here, and I apologize, I couldn't be here last month, I did request an estimate as to the reserves that the township has. Can anyone give me an estimate as to how much the township has in investment or savings or checking accounts? Mr. Porter?
We have millions of dollars in investments and checking and saving, not savings accounts, but investment accounts.
I know the township has millions. Do you know how much?
I would say approximately 20 million.
20 million.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to work with you on trying to get a better understanding of that. I've done at least a dozen records requests, trying to obtain statements. In August of 2018, the total in accounts, in the township's accounts, was $48 million. And if it's now $20 million, that's a lot of money missing.
There's no money missing, Mr. Borden.
That's
You know,
probably
I can
listed
assure
encumbered and
you,
unencumbered.
there is no money missing. We just had an audit that was very thorough, and there's no money missing, so please don't make those kind of accusations when they're not
Probably
accurate.
talking about investments versus cash on hand versus encumbrances, there's,
Yeah, I mean, if you don't understand the accounting for, public accounting in, for townships, please don't come in and say there's millions of dollars missing, because there's not a penny missing. And we've had the state auditor here looking at that and would confirm it.
Well, I apologize if the terminology upset you. I'm just comparing from what I summarized from August.
Well, your
2018.
summary is inaccurate.
Well, and
We
I
can give you
agree.
the exact
I've
figures
been
in every
trying.
account.
I've been trying for 2 months, and evidently there's a new account, a Stars Plus account. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, and that's not a new account, it's an old account. It's been around, probably since it was established.
Okay. I followed the statements, and unfortunately I haven't been able to obtain numbers that are
Well,
consistent.
if you make a request for a statement, I'm sure Debbie can give you any
I
you want.
have multiple times.
Which ones has she not given you?
The Stars Plus and the US bank account that did have 12 million in it as of August of 2018.
Okay,
And
she didn't give you that account?
I believe she said it was no longer open. So I have a spreadsheet, I use Excel quite readily, I'm just trying to track it to have a better understanding of where my
Well,
tax.
there is a US bank account, there's always been a US bank account.
Yep, I have a total of 3 listed. But like I said, I'd like to work with you on that to get a better understanding, because I've been trying to follow this for over a year, and a fluctuation of 48 million to 20 million is a big variance. I'm just trying to understand it.
Okay.
Thank you. Along those lines, there was a bond issuance approved. Was that done by you or organized by you, Mr. Porter?
No, it wasn't organized by me, it was, I mean, I was involved in it, yes, I had to sign off on things. I think, I mean, I'll defer to Doug on that, on the,
I don't do the bond work,
It
Brenda.
was,
Weaver
it was
does.
Brenda Weimer, Bradley Payne Associates, Dinsmore.
Okay, I was just trying to understand the logic behind borrowing money at close to 2% when some accounts aren't earning 2%.
well, some aren't and some are. Some are earning more than 2%.
Understand?
The idea is when you invest in a long-term project, whether it's a road or something along those lines, something that's gonna be around for a while, like a house mortgage, you don't pay cash for your house of $1 million up front, you pay it off over 30 years. That's the same idea behind it, behind doing a bond as opposed to paying out our cash right now, because you never know when
Right,
expenses will come up.
I understand that. Usually people don't have, you know, $30, $40 million in the bank. So I was just trying to understand the rationalization of paying more than you're earning on funds that you could just use instead. But I'll bring that up another time. With the parks budget that Mr. James brought up, Mr. Porter, who sets the parks budget?
The trustees would set the budget, I guess, on the recommendation of Mr. McCune, is my understanding of how it would work.
Is that true, trustees?
Budgets are established by department. Budgets are, Doug, Tracy, you better correct me if I'm wrong, but budgets are basically set up as allocations. They're not line item by line item as to what is actually spent. It's confirming the fact that there is money available to perform the functions that these departments intend to perform. Those budgets are reviewed by staff and then brought to trustees for vote.
Do you review the budgets, Mr. Porter?
I do not review the individual budgets from the department.
So the Parks Department creates its own budget.
Well, it ultimately has to be approved by the trustees. Greg, you would know the process because you handle it, but I think each department puts in a request to Mr. Bickford, and who then will winnow through those, and it is ultimately presented to the trustees for approval.
That's correct.
Someone may want to apprise Mr. McEwen of that. I've been attending parks meetings for over a year now, and he does not believe that he is tasked with the parks budget. It appears to be another case of dysfunctionality, and we need to get our own house in order.
Well, Tracy is tasked with the parks budget because he is the one that handles the operations. Mike lets us know what capital improvement he wants, and then Tracy adds that in.
This just changed in the last 10 seconds?
No, in the last 5 years.
Okay. So Parks doesn't set its own budget. Maintenance sets the budget. Is that correct?
Parks and maintenance work together. So their budgets are set together.
Okay. I appreciate all your time, and I'll be quick. I did want to circle back to you, trustees, with regard to the planning committee that's been brought up. I think it's 4 months ago, I brought to you some of the summaries or pages out of the Jacobs contract that this township signed an agreement on, and spent over $100,000 on. Mr. Weedman, have you had a chance to review that yet? It's been 4 months. And did you see that planning does come before zoning? Yeah, and you do confirm that now?
I read it, yes.
So zoning should come after planning according to the agreement that the township adopted.
I read the contract.
Mr. Connor?
Yes?
Did you have a chance to read the contract?
I have not read the contract, no.
Okay.
I deferred that to Mr. Weedman.
Here, Greg, since you're chuckling, you might get a kick out of this.
No, this, I misspoke. This I have read, yes.
At multiple meetings, Mr. Connor, you stated that zoning comes before planning. When did you read this document?
Well, wait a minute, we're not gonna sit here and cross-examine the trustees.
This is.
If you have a comment, make a comment.
Is planning going to be done prior to zoning, as per the agreement?
That's a question, not a comment.
The agreement doesn't mandate what happens when.
Thank you for your service, gentlemen.
Anybody else on the list, Greg?
Jay Janis Jr.
In a moment.
How are we doing with the selection for new zoning board member and also land use? I had it,
It's, you've seen it.
I've
It's-
seen it.
It's been three, it's not been good.
Looks qualified.
Well-
The lady sitting down there, Tracy.
With 3
We've got-
submittals, you guys can do what you want, but
With Jeff
we
Boone.
did get some additional information with this last newsletter, so I think Carrie's gonna get some more, so. I mean, there comes a time you're gonna have to move forward, but, you know, right now you have 3 people. And that's not how you wanna push forward with a plan that's gonna be fair and balanced.
In the zoning, you have George Tinnick is extremely qualified, and he's now retired.
Again,
Impeccable
one
references.
applicant, and that's up to you guys with what you wanna do with it. We did have another guy this week emailed about potentially interested, he's gonna send it very soon. So it's trickling out, there's people getting interested in it.
Give the floor.
Jay Janis Jr., 4462 Daffodil Avenue, Sycamore Township. My first question is relative to one of the public hearings that was held earlier tonight where the applicant and people involved with the proposed Best Buy store in Sycamore Township. If you approve it tonight, may I ask what month and year they would possibly be open to the public for that store?
Or do you know that?
That's up to the applicant.
I think it, go ahead.
I don't know if it's definitive at this point, but the thought is that it'll be spring or fall of next year.
Okay, thank you. Next question is for Mr. Kellums in the roads department. If I understand it, the 2 major road projects, improvement projects close to this building are and both of them are between Kenwood Road and Montgomery Road. Would be Sycamore Road this year and Cooper Mill next year, am I correct? For the repavement and
Yeah,
so
well,
forth?
Sycamore's from Plainfield to Kentwood.
I'm sorry, Plainfield, okay.
And Cougar Mill will be from Blue Ash to Montgomery.
Okay. When Sycamore Road is finally done, the top surface that people will be either walking on or driving on, will it be asphalt, cement, or concrete?
It will be asphalt.
And same question.
Hopefully they're walking on the sidewalks, which will be concrete. And there will be sidewalks installed
And-
also.
Okay, and on Sycamore, will that be sidewalks on both sides or just one?
Just one on Sycamore. There will be on both sides from Plainfield to Blue Ash, one side from Blue Ash to Kenwood.
Okay. And both sides will have curbs?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And same question with Cooper Hill then, both sides will have curbs?
Yes,
And will there be one or two sidewalks on both sides or
on
one
one
side?
side.
Okay.
And that project probably won't be till 21 at the earliest.
Okay. Last night, one of Mr. Miller's peers, another lawyer, talked to several people in the presentation in Sycamore Township. He specializes in firearms laws and conservation of practice, Mr. Sean Maloney. And I just heard some recent changes in Ohio state law concerning if government, local government interleague units may allow people who have concealed handgun license permits to carry in their weapons in local government buildings. When the law first came out, this building had a sign posted prohibiting weapons on the front door. Sometimes over the years, to my knowledge, rather quietly, the sign was changed, removed from the front door and put on one of these windows. In recent times, again, rather quietly, that sign has been completely removed. So I guess I would ask, does that mean then that this township allows and favors people who have concealed handgun license permits to carry in this building? Or can you give me some updates on that?
I don't know what happened with the sign, if it was taken down.
Is a sign
intentionally,
required to be on the building?
Or we do, pardon?
Is a sign required to be on the building?
If you're going to, I don't know.
Or because it's a public
I'd
building?
have to really look at the statute, it's not something I get into
Okay.
every day.
Sometime in the future, I'd appreciate if you get back to me on that. And my same question is, along with what I call the community room at the North Park, or the North End Fire Station, same thing, that has never had a sign.
Yeah, parks are different, I know, you can't, I think you can ban it from like a government building in terms of, because we're holding a meeting here. And don't quote me on this, cause I have to look it
Okay.
up, but I don't know that you can, I know you cannot in parks, if there are buildings in the park. That's what I'm not sure of. It's not
And then sometime in the future, can you get back to me on those two
Sure.
questions? Okay, thank you.
Are you carrying?
Don't answer.
I have trouble just getting from here to with my clipboard, so. I can assure everyone I'm not carrying tonight, so you can see I
Well, you're a former
left
peace
my
officer.
clipboard back here. So, okay, my next question is, myself and several others within the sound of my voice since the beginning of this year have made public records requests for, of this township, for documents, communications, applications, resumes. For my understanding was, an ad hoc land use steering committee. Ad hoc was the words I believe Trustee Weedman had suggested or used some meetings ago. You made there were some comments earlier. And one of the, subsequent to that, I received some documents. My question here is I'm rather befuddled because others of us have not received the same documents. So, meaning of all the applicants, I believe 2 applicants are completely missed from the documents sent to me. One was on Kathy Kugler, Mrs. Kugler's in the audience. The other's on Jack Plume. Jack Plume, I happened to be one of the evening meetings here where he publicly said he was interested in position. He's also a professional engineer. Is a son of a professional engineer. I know the designation professional engineer is a highly regarded professional designation. From personal observation, Mr. Plume has provided valuable insight, input and information in this township over the years. So apparently recently he came into disagreement with issues relative to CIG. Mrs. Kugler, who's in the audience, testified, for example, I believe there's approximately 8 public hearings with CIG. She testified under oath, and she's well credentialed and as an environmental enthusiast, which is my words. And I think she would be a valuable contributor to that group. Mrs. Tracy L. Lee Hughes, also in our audience, was the, for that same CIG public hearing, she and her husband Glenn were the stalwart activists that was opposed to the CIG plan. I believe she had some public comments in recent meetings and said she had applied and is still waiting to be heard to be interviewed. I believe at that particular meeting, zoning administrator Holbert said one of their criteria was to be a real estate agent. Mrs. Hughes said, this is her words, I'm a real estate agent. Subsequent to that meeting, I believe it came from Mrs. Campbell at the direction of Mr. Holbert, some of the information, applications and so forth that people applied for that committee. Bragging or boasting, I don't think there's, aside from you people here, there's no one here that's ever been to more of these public meetings, workshops or public meetings here as of right now. I recall many meetings when in the conference room, prior to them being here, in your workshops, where Mr. Bickford, the administrator, would bring up from time to time someone's term on various boards and commissions would be up. I don't recall, I think sometimes he barely have those words out of his mouth. There'd be a motion, a second, and a vote to reappoint those people. Personally, I have nothing against those people or their background. But my comment is, if that can be done so quickly, as I recall, this land use, this planning, the zoning, the contract that Mr. Fort mentioned earlier, I think this is all supposed to be done January 1st, 2018. And I can't recall in some 30 years of residency here, ever such a much delay on appointments to commissions and boards. Mrs. Kugler has shared with you